10 years since my wife and child were killed in a botched hit intended for me. Burned alive in a fire set by an inept, one-eyed CIA assassin, with help from his German accomplice.
My God. Maxis and I. We killed your family?
Unseen, unstoppable. Kind of like Weaver when he was a CIA spook.
Someone in our Black Ops 6 Zombies cast has blood on their hands. In Shattered Veil, we finally got a deeper look into the story of Richtofen's late family, his wife Mary and his son Samuel. As Janus Towers looms closer with its Season 5 release date, I want to take another look back at the death of Mary and Samuel one last time and find out just who is responsible for this tragedy. So let's take a look at our primary suspects, review the evidence related to them, and try to make a decision by the end. The one thing we know for sure is someone is responsible, and Eddie Richtofen is sure to want revenge. But in case you are new to the Black Ops 6 Zombies storyline and unfamiliar with Cold War's intel or need a refresher, let's catch you up on Samuel Richtofen. Samuel Richtofen is the young son of Eddie Richtofen, the brilliant but vengeful director of Requiem, and his wife, Mary. In 1981, Samuel and Mary died in a house fire set by CIA operative Grigori Weaver during a botched assassination attempt, likely targeting Eddie himself, based on intel provided by none other than Samantha Maxis, a B&D agent at the time.
His name was Samuel, and we will forever feel responsible for his death. I gave the intel to Weaver. The intel he acted upon. That's what we're all supposed to do, right? Act on the available intel. That's just what Weaver did. Act. Unfortunately, his actions resulted in collateral damage that neither of us will ever be able to forgive ourselves for. I'm sorry. I know he is too. But I still have a terrible feeling that the events of that day may yet come back to haunt us. I just need you to know. I am sorry.
The operation went horribly wrong when Weaver, believing the house was empty, set it ablaze to cover his tracks, unaware that Samuel and Mary were inside. This tragedy fuels Eddie's vendetta against Weaver and Maxis, as seen in Black Ops 6's Shattered Veil cutscene, and leaves both operatives racked with guilt, with Maxis lamenting her failure to protect Samuel and accusing Weaver of leaving the boy to die.
I don't know how or why, but I am remembering. I was angry before, and I am so sorry. That wasn't me. If it was, it really wasn't who I wanted to be. I made a promise I couldn't keep. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wish I could have kept you safe. I didn't. Maybe that anger made me do things I wish I hadn't done. I may regret some, but others I meant to do. He deserves whatever damnation I have brought upon him. I hope he burns in a hell worse than mine.
I thought I'd died and gone to hell. I thought everything and everyone I ever knew was gone forever.
You've been to hell before though, Sam. We both have. I was never going to leave you there to die.
Like you did the boy.
That's not fair, Sam. That was a different situation. We both did all we could.
But not enough. He's still dead, isn't he?
I can see you're agitated, so I'm gonna let you get some rest. I hope you feel better soon. I don't want to upset you.
Why? Are you worried I'll destroy everything like you think I did at Outpost 25? Weaver!
Despite this brief life, Samuel's presence lingers in the Dark Aether. A note found on the mystery box bunny, Mr. Peaks, written in a child's handwriting, praises his best friends for keeping him safe in the dark place, said to like to play hide and seek and living in his hat. This suggests Samuel's innocent spirit endures in the Dark Aether thanks to some connection to Mr. Peaks. This could also be a connection to the Richtofen All Out of Rabbits line back from Dark Aether Story, reiterated by the Forsaken at the end of Cold War. A mysterious orb filled with children laughing and powerful memories evokes heartbreak in Omega Soldier Fedoriv and is described by Piotr as capable of crossing worlds, suggesting it may originate from our world.
I have seen many things in my travels. For all its horror, there is beauty in this deep dark ether. The crystals, they take our memories. They make us forget who we were. But our memories do not fade. They are taken from us and form something new, something magical. Orbs. I have seen many in my time here. So many memories, so many stories to tell. Memories of a Russian scientist, of an American spy. There is one orb. It is different, special. It is like me. It can cross between worlds. It is filled with the laughter of a child. I may never learn who the child is or what happened to them, but their memories are powerful.
This orb likely holds Samuel's essence, and I suspect will somehow tie into his eventual resurrection. Maxis' recurring guilt, including a dream of a damaged yet dangerous boy, someone that also seems to be Samuel. But him being referred to as dangerous here is an interesting one-off. Could it simply be a tease that him being dead was dangerous because of what Richtofen would do? Or could Samuel even be set up as some kind of eventual villain, his revival doing something bad? Potentially his corruption in the Dark Aether. Those are questions for Janus Towers and beyond to hopefully answer. More immediately though, the real question today is, who's to blame for Samuel and Mary's deaths? Was it Weaver, who set the fire, Maxis, who provided the intel, or a third party we are or aren't yet privy to, pulling the strings all along? While there's very little information surrounding the actual assassination and how it played out, we get bits and pieces here and there about Samantha and Weaver's involvement in the incident. Our biggest indictment of Weaver at the moment comes from Samantha's diary back in Black Ops Cold War. I remember waiting for your call. 10, 11, 12. The phone never rang. Instead, I saw news of the explosion on TV. I couldn't sleep. 3 AM. I heard a knock at my apartment door. You gave the key word and I let you in. We'd never met face to face before. It was a shock to finally meet you. You were in a bad way. I did my best to dress your wounds, but it was the first and only time I ever saw you cry. You mumbled something about not knowing, about how sorry you were. You torched the place to cover your tracks after the hit. You said the boy was supposed to be staying with his mother, but he wasn't. He was there, in the house, while it burned to the ground. With this, we see confirmation that Weaver is at least physically responsible for the murders. He came there to take out a target and then set fire to cover up the hit. However, because of faulty intelligence he got, the target's son and wife were also in the house. This means that they perished in the fire he set, likely painfully burning to death alive. In this intel though, we hadn't yet even gotten confirmation that the boy's mother also perished. This came much later into Cold War, via a conversation between Maxis and Weaver we can collect a recording of.
Hello?
Hello, Sam. I'm not allowed to visit in person, but I just wanted to check in.
Before the operation tomorrow? Be there or be square.
I know I can't tell you what to do. You wouldn't listen anyway. But seriously.
I know my orders, Weaver. I assist with the infill, but then...
You stand down. We can't risk any mistakes. We both know how badly things can go south if we act impulsively.
You're talking about the boy, aren't you?
And the mother.
It wasn't your fault.
It wasn't yours either, Sam.
Thanks for calling, Weaver. I'll see you in the morning.
Goodbye, Sam.
This conversation is huge for us, because we get both characters expressing who they feel is not at fault for the deaths. They both console each other that it wasn't the other's fault, each trying to bear the burden while the other attempts to relieve it. This was our first confirmation the boy's mother died as well, maybe a pivot in the writing direction, originally intended to just be the boy. It is interesting that this is the last one-on-one conversation Maxis and Weaver would have before Operation First Domino, which resulted in Sam being cast into the Dark Aether. So, outside of him over the comms asking her to not do it in the ending, this would be the very last conversation Weaver and Maxis had. Both of them, one last time, trying to relieve each other of guilt for the awful night. So, if Maxis feels Weaver isn't responsible, and he was given false intel about the location of Samuel and Mary, seemingly from her, does responsibility lay on her as well. While Samantha Maxis didn't directly start the fire that killed Samuel and Mary, and wasn't directly trying to kill Richtofen, she did contribute towards it. It's made very clear she was as involved as Weaver was as well, even that she, too, is haunted by the guilt. But how exactly could she have been so integral to this operation as to feel responsible? Let's take a look at her first diary entry from Cold War's Quarantine Journal. Here, we establish a couple of things of importance. Number one, Samantha had some kind of actual connection to Samuel. To have ever promised to keep him safe, Samantha must have known who he was, which also means she likely knew Richtofen and Mary. The other, Samantha's intel given to Weaver was the location of Samuel and Mary, a house somewhere that she considered safe, likely somewhere in and around Liberty Falls. But once she gave the location to Weaver, he quickly burnt down. Does this make Sam more responsible than Weaver? Without this intel, and without her breaking that promise, Samantha and Mary would still be alive. I think trying to decide who between Maxis and Weaver bears more responsibility is a difficult and nuanced discussion that you would struggle to get a good answer from, unless one of them had intentionality. In a prior video I made a long time ago, breaking down the lyrics of Destroy Something Beautiful, I suggested that maybe Samantha Maxis actually intentionally targeted Richtofen, but did not want his family to die along with them out of jealousy of him being chosen by Kraft to be adopted while she was left alone in Germany, when Samantha and Eddie, entering the new universe holding hands together, were supposed to be formidable best friends. This is backed up because in the background of one of the periods of the song itself, you can actually hear a flame, suggesting a connection between the song's lyrics and the tragic events of that day. Listen to this very carefully and you can make it out just about in the background. And that's what I've been leaning to throughout the game's life cycle. During Cold War, I didn't think she was at all responsible. But this, I felt, was the most compelling evidence we have gotten so far. However, I think there's another option here that not many of us have considered so far. What if it's neither. We know that Weaver started the fire and Samantha Maxis gave the intel, but what we don't know is perhaps the most important part of the question: who exactly ordered the hit? In some of my earlier initial coverage of this, way back during the Cold War and Vanguard eras, all the way until my full zombie storyline video from World at War to Black Ops 6, I would often refer to this as a CIA assassination attempt from Weaver. Many commenters often posted criticism about this, saying that technically there's no real confirmation from the game that this was CIA sanctioned. The assumption only came because Weaver was working for the CIA and a CIA operative who had been involved in hits in the past and even had a hit against him in Operation Charybdis due to his involvement with Mason that none other than Richtofen himself rescinded. However, now thanks to Shattered Veil's cutscene, we finally get this alluded to.
Burned alive in a fire set by an inept, one-eyed CIA assassin.
This is some pretty good confirmation that this assassination attempt, likely on Eddie Richtofen, was CIA sanctioned. But it again draws us back to the main question. If it wasn't a personal hit from Weaver or Maxis and somehow they just got tangled in the wrong place at the wrong time and was instead ordered by the CIA, who would do this and why? This person is inarguably more responsible for these deaths than Weaver or Sam, and may have had some kind of personal issues with Eddie himself. Or perhaps it was CIA agents who had been monitoring his activities since his father's involvement with MKUltra who finally decided he was too dangerous. Did he discover something that scared them, thanks to his father's work? Or does he have access to memories of the prior multiverse and somehow, using that knowledge, set off red flags for the CIA who decided he knew too much? Right now, we don't really have much to go on, and technically speaking, the Shattered Veil ending cutscene does not confirm the CIA was involved either. However, with Richtofen making note of him being a CIA assassin, it would be awfully inapt if it turns out the CIA did not order the hit, because whilst this statement on its own would be true because he is a CIA operative, if this particular operation was not to do with them, then why even bring it up here? And why would the CIA even be letting him off the hook to be going off on his own endeavors? Surely they would find out about them and put a stop to it. As to destroy something beautiful and why we hear fire in the background, I don't really know, but to be honest, I'm leading to it being a CIA-ordered assassin somehow due to Richtofen's quote, but I would suspect in DLC4 Janus Towers that we end up getting some real context behind the assassination attempt, and who in the CIA would have wanted Eddie dead. This hypothetical character could be the missing link in the assassination and why we currently struggle to understand it so much. We can guess that a third party is likely responsible, especially since Samantha was seemingly unaware of what Weaver planned to do according to her own quotes, and Weaver clearly had a specific target in mind, but seemed to not recognize Eddie as this target upon meeting him. This introduces the question of who the target actually was, if not Eddie. Surely Weaver couldn't be attempting to kill someone who he did not know the appearance or name of. How is that possible? For now, all we can do is wait. There are so many questions, because if it was the CIA targeting him, how on earth did he survive and then end up as the director of Requiem, literally basically placing himself in that role and handpicking all of the Requiem heads? If they wanted him dead, how would he be a high-up government official? It's very, very odd. And also, if this does end up proving to be true, I think it's unfortunate because it removes all of the agency and autonomy with Weaver and Samantha from the events of that day, which I think, narratively and emotionally wise, isn't a smart option for Trek to do, because I think somehow tying Samantha in it in a way that connects to her history with Richtofen from the old Aether story, and that shared bond that they went into this new universe with that ended up breaking, would have been the best route to go, because it ties everything full circle. And if she had no active involvement in specifically targeting Richtofen, it basically makes this all up to chance. The fact that she was involved in this was merely coincidence, which seems awfully unlikely when they went to the new universe together, separated. Richtofen went to America, she stayed in Germany. What are the odds that just by coincidence she somehow ends up in the position to assassinate her once childhood best friend? And it becomes even weirder when we know that she had a personal connection, at least to some extent, with his son Samuel. How did she have that without some sort of personal connection with Richtofen in her adult life? I really do not know, but what do you think? Do you blame Weaver or Sam, or this unnamed potential third party? Is it just no one's fault and simply a tragedy? My head's spiraling and I can't really piece this all together, so I hope that Treyarch do a good job of nailing this. And the reason why I thought to reevaluate this in this video today is because personally to me, this is the biggest question that Treyarch need to answer in Janus Towers, as this has been the most prominent speculation we've had since the ending of Cold War Zombies, and has been the reason for all of Richtofen's motivations throughout these games. It's literally the largest plot thread stringing the entire Dark Aether narrative together. The entirety of Cold War Zombies and Black Ops 6 Zombies, and even Modern Warfare Zombies technically, all wouldn't have happened if Richtofen did not have the motivation to try and restore his family back to life, thanks to them being burnt alive due to this botched assassination. So Treyarch needs to give us the answer as to why it even began in the first place. And with one map remaining, I believe this is the only chance they have left to finally do this, because then we'll be moving into Black Ops 7 with the original characters returning, and even though there's probably connections to the story we have now, I don't think it will or should be used to be tying up threads that have been left since Cold War Zombies, since I'm sure they want to be focusing more on old Aether connections. Share your thoughts with me in the comments below, because people are often very passionate about this when I see discussions on Twitter or in my comments, and I think before this we've all really failed to consider the option of a third party, at least recently. We did in the past, back during the Cold War days, but Black Ops 6 so far has been throwing us off guard, which I don't know whether it's intentional or there's been lots of changes in direction at the writing team at Treyarch. I'm not exactly sure. It does feel like there's lots of different narrative threads being pulled in different directions right now. Maybe that could be because Julie Nathanson left. Hopefully she returns though, because the actors' strike has apparently ended. However, in the meantime, Treyarch might have had to repurpose and reshape their storyline about what they initially intentioned, and maybe they had a different idea for where to go with this assassination, but they've had to change it. I'm not exactly sure, but I like to throw this all out there before hopefully we finally get an answer in Janus Towers. Definitely I think it will end up being either Samantha or someone in the CIA, or maybe a mix of both, as to who is really at fault. But anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.